Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donny Coram, broadcasting from our downtown Colorado Springs studios. I am so excited. I know I say this on every show I have a guest on, but really today is going to be game-changing for you guys, so I want you to pay attention. Today I had the pleasure of having Eric Mauz and Nick DiFederico of MB Capital with me on the show, and these guys are crushing it in the world of helping people to get lines of credit to do their first deal. So a lot of my investors have a similar problem, which is they come to me motivated, passionate about getting into real estate, but not really fully funded. I do have a requirement for my clients to have about $50,000 in liquidity or access to that capital, because I do want to make sure that everybody who signs up for my coaching program can actually do a deal with me. So these guys have been out there revolutionizing that, taking your business identity, using it with the EIN number. I'm going to let them do all the real talking on this, but I'm so excited to have them on board. Without further ado, let's welcome Nick DiFederico and Eric Mauz to the show. Make some noise out there, guys. Love to have you on the show. Welcome aboard. How you doing?
Doing great.
Thanks, Don.
Appreciate you having us here.
Hey, thank you guys for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it. As you guys already know, my audience is super interested in what MB Capital can do for them to help them get the capitalization that they need to do their first deal. Nick, could you just give me a little bit of background, what you guys do in the team individually? And then Eric, if you would do the same, I'd love to give them a brief introduction on you and the company, if you would, please.
Yeah, so I'll let Eric do the company. He's the owner, so I'll let him. It's his baby. I was actually a client 10 years ago, way back when I was in the jewelry business. Eric helped me implement funds that I still use today, right? So 10 years later, still using those funds. I transitioned out of the jewelry business, started investing in real estate, doing the Burr method in the Philadelphia market. And when I was kind of looking to do that next thing, came back to Eric and said, much like you've helped me, I want to be able to help others. So I had a lending background. I opened up a mortgage company way back in 2004. So it was just kind of the right fit. And now today, what we do is we help real estate investors and small business owners all across the country get access to funds, right? And you'll hear the gurus out there saying you don't need cash or credit or anything like that. But what we've learned is it's a lot easier when you have access to cash and credit to go do real estate deals, right?
It certainly is. It most certainly is. I love the theory of the no money down real estate thing. And I think what they're trying to say is none of your money down, right? Exactly. There are ways to do it. But the fact of the matter, to play in this game does require a decent amount of capital. So thank you for bringing that out. Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's leverage OPM. Let's get you access to some funds so that when the right opportunities pop up, you can kind of pull the trigger on it.
I love that. Let's move it over to Eric Mauz, the owner, I guess, and founder of MB Capital. Eric, a little bit of background on yourself. When you started MB Capital, give me your origination story to kind of get to this point today.
All right. Love it. Thanks, Donny. So like Donny said, I'm Eric. I'm the owner and a funding strategist on the team. Going back to college, I had been given that great book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I read it. It motivated me. So by the end of college, I actually had invested in mutual funds, stocks, and bought my first rental property by my senior year of college, using excess student loan money for that first deal. So it was interesting. It was pretty cool. I've always had a knack for that creative financing side and get it done however you need to. So I worked as an engineer after that for about 10 years while I was building up, the real estate side of things and building up a portfolio very slowly until about 2008 when I learned about leveraging lines of credit to go out there and really build and do more deals, get into more opportunities. So it was a game changer for me. 12 months later, I wanted to share it with everyone. Similar to Nick, I started coaching real estate investors a year later in 2009, and that's when MB was really created. So for the past 14 years, been helping real estate investors and small business owners access capital that they can use to leverage and build their real estate business, get out there and do deals.
I love that, and I definitely appreciate it. We're going to get into a specific client story here in a bit, but Eric, as you know, there's a lot of people claiming to offer this, right? There's just a bunch of people who offer the lines of credit. You see them all over, and and it's so funny. Their Facebook profile, they're sitting on their Oldsmobile Cutlass on spinners, and like, hit me up, dog. I can get you some lines of credit. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to give you my social security number, bro. I don't know. I'm not real comfortable with that. How are you different? How have you managed to separate yourself from the people who are offering this but can't actually deliver?
That's a great question. And thank you for pointing that out, because it's one thing that drives me crazy lately is I scroll Instagram and I scroll Facebook and everybody's saying, hey, I can get you 50K here, or hey, I'll get you the bag over here. And, it's all affiliate marketing, right? They're not actually out there holding your hand, showing you what lender to go to. We handle everything, right? We are a done for you service. So you come to us, you let me know what you're looking to do, how much capital do we need, and we go out there and do it for you. And not only that, we're actually out there doing it as well, right? Like I burr, Eric burrs, our team is all involved in real estate. So the biggest difference between us and a lot of the people out there is, not only do we go out there and acquire the funds for you, we're going to show you and coach you how to actually go out there and put it to use. More importantly, I want to know exactly what you're doing, whether you're doing foreclosures, you're doing burrs, or you're out there doing sub-2 deals. I want to make sure that we're doing right by the client and showing you exactly how to go out there and leverage these funds, not just get them for you, tap you on the butt and tell you to get out there and go put it to use.
Yes. I love that. And I would tell you that, it is really about the client situation. Is it not, Eric? I mean, is it how deep dive do you have to get in the client's credit, financials, and goals to really make this effective?
Yeah, I mean, it's all custom, right? To me, I the first question I ask every client is, if you were sitting here a year from now and you were really happy with the way things have gone, what 3 things would you accomplish? What would make it feel like it was a successful year? And to me, that's the heart of it, right? You just going out there and getting your money to, not put to use, not a good fit for what we're doing, right? We want those that have those big ambitions and goals and dreams of financial freedom, grow, create a better retirement, be able to pay for kids' college, whatever it is for them, right? Even just to have a little bit more flexibility in their life. It allows us to really, really help them take it, to the next level. Sometimes it's a 1-degree shift, right? Just knowing that they're getting better by having us in their life. To me, that's important, and part of our culture here at MB is that custom build and helping people, achieve what they're going after.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, and it's amazing how much empowerment you can give to somebody with money, right? It's the right money, because there's bad money out there, right? Everybody. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I get the phone calls constantly where it's like, we'll give you $100,000. The payback is $129,000 in 6 months, and if we don't get it, we're going to send our buddy Vinny over there. He's going to solve the problem for you, right? I'm like, I could use the capital, but I don't know if Vinny and I are going to get along, right? How's that conversation going to go? How'd you get in my house? What is that shiny thing with a silencer you got there? So you don't necessarily want to borrow money from the wrong sources of people, right? And I say that tongue in cheek, but I obviously I sat through your webinar recently, Eric, and really detailing the program. And I highly encourage anybody to watch that. How often do you do those webinars where people can come along and discuss with you the intake process? Because I'd love to refer some people over to you to do that.
Yeah, we do it every 3 to 4 weeks. We have a new webinar where we're either, talking about what we do in high level, or diving into case studies on clients who are out there using it and how, you might resonate with that and see how you can put it to use.
Sure. So, I mean, when you're talking about lines of credit for the business, obviously they need a couple of things: a business identifier of some kind, an LLC. That's pretty obvious. The EIN, is that critical? I know a lot of this is still based on personal credit. Could you guys give me a little bit more of a feel on the financial requirements, what the borrower needs to have to make this effective and easier for you?
Yeah, I mean, strength of personal credit is the biggest thing.
Okay.
So, we want to see a 680 plus. The stronger the credit, obviously, the more funding we can get, the more options that we're going to have. And then ideally, you want to have that EIN number. Right? Like if we set up the entity, we set up an LLC, even if it's a sole prop, S corp, whatever the entity is, we want to have the EIN number, because what we want to do is we want to acquire these funds, but we want them, even though the lender's looking at personal credit, to be attached to the EIN number. This way we can go out there and leverage the crap out of the money, right? Like let's go use 100% of it. We don't have to worry about it reporting. Yeah, we don't want it to report back onto personal credit, affecting utilization, score, debt to income ratio. We want to start to separate out personal and business. So the biggest thing is, let's have a business, and then let's make sure personal credit's in the right position.
I love that. So obviously I went through the process. I'm never going to turn down money, especially, you don't look much like Vinny. I think I can handle the interest rates with you guys. It came back, that I needed to make some changes to my credit. Like there was a bit of a pay down that needed to take place on some credit cards, basically to improve my score and et cetera, all kind of minor stuff. But what do you think? And I know it's tough because it's so independent, but what do you think the percentage success ratio is of people who end up actually getting lines of credit from application to credit? Do you have any idea on your success percentages?
Oh man, from application to credit. So, I mean, look, like you said, it's all dependent upon how your credit is. But I will tell you, there's three things, right? If you have optimal credit and you can get going, clients are going to have, we're going to get 80 to 90% success with that client all day, every day, getting them access to capital somewhere between 50 to 100,000 within about 30 days. If you're a client who maybe, let's use the real estate investor example, since we're talking to investors, right? Let's say you've just had your credit pulled by 3 different hard money lenders, or mortgage lenders, and now you got a number of new inquiries over the past 6 months, right?
Sure.
That could interfere, but
Right.
and we've seen that. That's one of the bigger denial reasons in what we do is too many inquiries. However, we have a fix for that, right? We strategize with the client. Sometimes it's waited out till they're outside of the 6 months. Other times we have a third party who can remove inquiries within a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So just depends on who where the client is, and then in your scenario, right, where there's high personal credit leverage, using too much on the personal side. Sometimes it could not be overall usage, but might just be one card's overutilized. We're going to take the couple of weeks to get them going. If someone's following my lead, we have a great team behind us too, beyond just Nick and I, who hold the client's hands and who will get the client moving. 90+% of our clients who want what we have and follow our lead with those in those 3 scenarios, we're getting them access.
I love it.
Coachability,
That's incredible.
Right? Like Donny, I'm sure when it comes to coaching clients, coachability is a big factor, right? Like if you're not in a position to get you funding right now, we're going to give you the game plan. So as long as you're coachable, you're able to take action, you're able to, follow up with the lenders and do the things that we're suggesting, we're going to get you the funding. We're going to give you that game plan. We're going to tell you whatever hurdles are in your way, how to overcome them. We just need some legwork on the client's end.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear that one of the things, when you talk about people who are, more reputable in this industry, typically there's an upfront fee. I mean, obviously the amount of work you guys are putting in to get this kind of kicked off is excessive. I mean, is it taking your time? And I appreciate how much time you invested in, the clients that have been successful, but also in me, even though I needed to do some work to get there. But why not? I mean, I don't want to change your model. It's working. But why not the upfront fee? So many of these guys I've talked to about this generally want $4,000 or $5,000 upfront to even start the process. But what makes you guys different in that space?
I like to say value, right? I look at it as if I'm a client. Would I want to pay an upfront fee and not get access to funds right away? Ideally, no, right? And then for those clients who aren't ready, they're going to be ready at some point. So we want to make sure that we're creating as much value for the client as possible. Because at some point, when you do follow our steps, you're going to come back to us. We are going to get you funding. We will get compensated. But more than anything, we're big on trying to build this community here. So the more people we can help, the more people that it's out there preaching that, hey, Nick, Eric, MB Capital helped me get in position for funding, that's all going to come back to us. So we're big, preacher of, providing value because it's going to come back to us.
Yeah, do unto others, right? I mean, and it's one of those things where you hear it said all the time, but do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I love that you guys are literally living that in real time. Let's get out of theory for a little bit and talk practice. One of my clients, Betty, joined my program probably 3 or 4 months ago. We were going to pull money out of the HELOC on her property. She has a condo in New York, so with $200K worth of equity, seems like a slam dunk deal to pull the equity out. Found out later that the condo association does not allow her to borrow against her own equity, which I found staggering. maybe illegal, but definitely staggering. But New York, right? Who knows? All sorts of laws out there we don't fully understand, right? So I went with it. But then we were in the problem. We had to find her some capital because she couldn't tap the equity. Introduced her to you guys, had the whole conversation. Her personal credit was really strong. She walked out of that interaction with lines of credit of $58,000. She's over the moon excited right now with the ability to now go out and look for a property. We're in the process of putting into her deal right now, right? Obviously, you hear these success stories all the time, but when you hear that, what do you think was the key secret sauce? Obviously, the introduction was critical, the personal credit was critical, but why do not many people do this? If it's out there, is there not enough information about this stuff to actually do it? Why do you think this industry still has so many shadows in it?
Oh man,
Right?
I think it's part of what you said, right? Like we know the data on the lenders. We know the right lenders that are going to work for you based on where you are in the country, right? If you're in New York, you're going to have a different game plan than if you're in California or Florida.
Okay.
So that customization and having that data at our fingertips, because of the thousands of clients that we're helping, right? We know which lender is going to be a true business lender, which one's going to pull which credit bureau during the game plan. We can put together a plan where not every lender is going to pull the same credit bureau where you start to get denied pretty quickly. I think the other side of it is the trust factor, right? Mm-hmm. In this environment with all those on social media and just the internet marketing as a whole, you're meeting them, it's dime a dozen, right? There's a lot of companies out there that claim they could do what we do, and you're giving your information. So for us, over 75% of our business comes from referrals. That's big. That's instant trust right there.
That's amazing.
So it allows them to stop thinking of, oh, is MB or Eric or Nick going to try and take advantage of us? Or can I really just let my guards down and listen and follow their lead, knowing that that they have a relationship with Donny or with a partner or another client who's already had great success.
Yeah. So now, fully armed with this line of credit for $58,000. Some of it's cash advance you got to do. Obviously, that changes the interest rate a little bit. But the bottom line is, to your point, the trust is there now.
Yeah, hold on. We're going to stop you right there.
We're stopping you there.
Oh, all right. Correct.
So you said cash advance, right? So the client you're talking about had a newer business.
Yes.
There was some credit card funding there, right? So
yeah.
To your previous question about why doesn't everybody do it? Sometimes there's just preconceived notions, right? Like you hear credit card and you may think, oh, I can't go buy a piece of real estate with a credit card, right? Or, I can do a cash advance. I can take off half of the credit card and use the cash, but it's at 30% interest. Where we're really different is we're going to show you how to use those tools in a different way, right? So, when it comes to credit card, funding and leveraging credit cards in real estate, we're going to show how clients, a couple different ways to either pull cash off of their credit cards or actually send funds directly wherever it needs to go off of their credit cards. But most importantly, we're going to do that by showing them how to keep it at 0% interest while they're doing the deal. So cash advance to me and to Eric and to our clients is very dirty work. So if you're watching this, if you're out there and you're using credit cards and you're actually liquidating credit cards and doing it as a cash advance, get off of the computer right now and contact us because we're going to show you how to actually leverage these tools the right way.
I love that. Yeah, it's critical. It's not just getting the money. It's how you use the money, right? And everybody's got a credit. Not everybody, but you got a lot of people in my space, especially. They come to me. They got good credit, right? They understand how money operates. They may have a $50,000 line of credit at Chase, or whatever, but it is a cash advance fee, right? And they're terrified to use it because it's not, again, it comes back to not just having the money, it's got to be good money for the right purpose, right? And I love that you have the passion about it because I get it. Cash advance in your business, that's a bad industry term because it's not good for the client. They get access to the capital, but it hurts them in other ways, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So
at that point, you might as well go deal with Vinny on the corner and get a loan that way because it's the same interest essentially.
Well, except with those guys, your credit score goes down. With Vinny, we just don't hear from you.
Right.
Again,
so there's benefits to Vinny, I guess.
That's terrible. No offense to Vinny. If you're listening, Vinny, we're still cool.
We like Vinny. Vinny's fine.
I'm going to get you your money. We're going to be fine. So No, point well taken, guys. I love that. I love that. I can feel the heart, the nature of from the very first interaction with Eric. Just listening to I've been through so many of these pitches on I can get your money. I've heard that so many times, right? It's just very difficult not to be jaded about it because even if they do it, like you're talking about 30% interest, that's not a good idea. I don't want to put my clients, and you clearly don't want to put your clients in a worse situation than they were when they started. The idea is enhancing their lives through access to capital, not making it worse, right? So we're evaluating the situation. We know what they're going to do with the money in this case. My clients are coming to you with the desire to do their first fix and flip. So we know what the purpose of the funds are. There's still room, I guess, to abuse that capital if they want to. But I think most people who have paid for coaching should be a lower credit risk in general because they know that this is what they're going to do with it. And so they're not going out and buying the Corvette with it or et cetera, which is always tempting, but generally not a good idea, right? So right. How do you guys vet the clients for responsibility? Is that part of the process? Are you checking them out? I guess, how can you, but emotional status, et cetera? Is that a factor? Have you just met clients where you're like, I don't think we should get this guy any money? Has that happened?
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest thing for me is making sure that what we're doing, right? That what we're doing is a short-term leverage option, right? It's not going to be, it's not meant for a long-term mortgage. It's meant to get into an opportunity, fix it up and flip it, get into it, fix it up, refi it, hold and refi it into a mortgage and hold it long-term. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Same thing with the business owner. Like, what are your plans to use these lines for? Are you going to go buy a $50,000 truck and use a line of credit to buy a piece of equipment? Do you have an exit strategy for it? So I always look for the exit strategies. I always make sure if someone's going to use the lines of credit for a 20% down payment on a property they plan to hold for 30 years, I'm going to warn them and let them know, like, hey, may not recommend it, right? Like, make sure you have that exit strategy. So in understanding what their goals are and what their business model is, I think it does allow us the opportunity to make recommendations. In the end, look, the client, we can coach and guide the client as best possible. In the end, it's their decision. But I'll point it out, and I probably pointed it out 2 or 3 times this week already.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I guess when you hear access to capital, everybody's excited by that. I'm glad you guys are filtering a little bit, making sure it's going to the right place. Again, about keeping the client in mind, like what is good for you ultimately. And I've really built my entire coaching practice off of that. Everybody wants to do what we do. You meet very few people who don't want to have the story of buying a house in college and building an empire and building rental income and flipping their first property. Very rare do I talk to people who don't want to do it. The challenge is doing it. And then the next challenge is doing it right? Because you watch the flipping shows and et cetera, and you get a wrong idea on how that process is actually supposed to work. That's got to be equally true right here in the credit line area, where it's like it's not just getting the capital, it's using it properly in the right case for the right setting. And like I love that you said it is designed to be short term. This is a short-term bridge loan situation to kind of bridge the gap between where you are and where you're going. It's not designed to be how you live on financial future. It's just leveraging high interest money to move on. That does bring up interest rates, though. Normally on a line of credit, I guess with Betty, some of that was 0% interest, which I just find amazing. But what do you generally see for interest rates for these lines that the clients get?
Yeah, so typically it's going to be prime plus somewhere between 1% to 4%. Okay. So prime right now is at 8.5. Obviously, over the last 12 months, they've raised prime. A year ago, prime was at 3.25. So a year ago it was 4.25 to 7.25. Now it's 9.25 to 12.25, 12.5. But that's like the client you mentioned, Betty. That's why we've been implementing a lot of 0% funding plans and combining it with the lines of credit. Because I always tell clients, listen, if I can get you a $50,000 line of credit, even if it's at 12%, and I can go get you $50,000 in 0% credit cards, well, now we have $100,000 at a blended interest rate of 6%. You can't go borrow $100,000 from any bank in the country right now under prime. So more than anything, we want to get you access to the funds, but then we want you to show you how to creatively start to think about using these tools in a different way. It's a game changer. Just having access to the capital is a game changer. But when we can start using these at blended interest rate under what the bank's paying, it's an even bigger game. It's putting more money in our pocket.
Yeah. And it's a win-win situation. When you guys win, the client wins, they get more lines of credit. How many rounds of funding do people generally get with you guys? I mean, I guess with this client, she got one round, 58,000. How long where people come back and increase their lines? I mean, does it help that they have a track record with these lenders to increase the levels, or how's that process of gradually increasing the available credit work?
So yeah, I mean, you can increase the existing approvals you get. I always say wait till the initial promotion runs out, whether
Okay.
if it's 0% credit card, right, it's going to be 0% for 6, 12, 18 months. Normally not going to get an increase while the initial promotion's still there.
Sure.
However, at the same time, right, about 3 to 6 months after that first round of funding, you could go after another $40,000 to $70,000 of access on top of that initial round of funding,
Wow.
either through separate lenders or third parties that service multiple banks. So just by knowing the lenders, so some of my best lenders are in second, third round of funding. You just can't go after all of them in the first round. So it's, I mean, average client goes through 2 rounds of funding, and then when the business hits certain timeframes, they may be able to go after a third. It just depends on, every investor I know, every investor we help is like, get me as much as you can.
Right.
We go
More
again,
money.
we go get more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but every client's different. Right? We always come back to that's why we have that conversation with them, right? Some clients only want to do one deal a year. Like their plan is to do one deal a year. If we get them 50 to 75,000, we're good. There's other clients where it's like, hey, listen, I'm trying to do one deal a month. So the more money you can get me, the better. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, everybody's a little bit different. That's why we kind of tailor each game plan to what the client is looking to do, not just short term, but long term as well.
I love that. So guys, what's the future of MB Capital? Like, I mean, obviously you guys are at great momentum. When did you say you founded the company, Eric? How long ago?
2009.
All right. So, I mean, here we are, 14 years in the making. Well, what's the future? Where do you want to see the company go? How do we help with growth? Obviously, more clients are better, but what do you see the future of what you do? How is it going to change?
I mean, we're helping clients nationwide right now, right? So I've been helping clients nationwide since then, which is awesome. I want to be a more well-known name nationwide.
Sure.
For me, I want to be involved in a lot more RIAs than we're currently involved in. But through a combination of some local clients that are in these areas or partners of ours that are in the areas helping us work the RIAs, right? We can't be at everything. We're only so big right now and we're continuing to grow. But we can't be everywhere. So to me, I think that's the important piece. How can we start to educate and really help and serve more real estate investors to leverage the unsecured lines properly as an additional tool in the toolbox? On a more, just a larger scale, larger level.
Yeah, and I think obviously with the market shifting, and I'm the foreclosure deals coach, so I'm not like rooting for foreclosures, but it would not be a bad thing if there were more of them, right? Like it would not be a bad thing for my business. So I think you're going to see a lot of investors coming to market right now, undercapitalized. And, I think the reality of the previous investor round, correct me if I'm wrong, but they got a little spoiled, right? The expectations for what the back end profit on a deal went from, man, it'd be cool to make $25,000, which is what I offer my clients, to, well, now 50,000 is really cool. Now I'm having conversations with investors. Well, if I'm not going to make 100 grand, I'm just not doing the deal. And I love that. Like, there's a part of it like, go for it, buddy, right? But the flip side of that is we're going to bring in a lot of new clientele, right? Where we're heading to a market where a lot of people are going to come in with more realistic, fair expectations of their knowledge level, what they can bring to the table. And as a result, they'll be willing to take a little bit less. Not that $25,000 is a bad day at the office, right, on a deal. But as new investors come in, your brand, your ability to help those people get started and get going is going to be critical, because I really think it's a whole new generation of investors coming to market right now. And I'm super excited to have you guys be a part of my team and helping me to get my clients the funding that they need, but also just in general, promoting the brand and building. I definitely want to be a part of getting it out there. Obviously, the podcast is a big start on that. Let's wrap it up a little bit, guys. How do people get in touch with you? Like, what's the best way to contact you guys, get into your intake program? I am an affiliate of it, so obviously I'd rather they use my affiliate link to get to you. I would greatly appreciate that. But in general, can you walk me through the intake process from clicking on the link as or setting an appointment to getting that first line of credit?
Yeah, so for step number 1, click on Donny's link. right? We want to make sure that Donny gets credit here for you. We want to know it's coming from Donny. Because I also, we look at that, right? Like when I go into a call and I see that it came from Donny, I kind of have an understanding of, who the client may be, and I can tailor the conversation to them a little bit better. But, ultimately click that link, input the information. You're going to get set up with one of our team members for an initial call. Kind of what we were talking about, Eric asking that question, like, where do you see yourself 12 months from now? Those are the things we want to find out. We want to find out not just what are you looking to do, how old's your business, but then really what's the goal here? Are you trying to do one deal or trying to do your first deal? You're trying to do 10 deals. So, let's have that initial conversation. From that initial conversation, we are going to take a look at credit. Credit's that number one, starting point. Let's take a look at your credit profile. Let's see what options we have now. Are there tweaks that we need to make? After we take a look at credit, we're going to have that more full consultation where we're going to spend 20, 30, 45 minutes together. We're going to review credit. We're going to talk about those options. And together, we're going to create a game plan with the client to make sure that we're hitting those goals and that we can help them how they want to be helped.
I love that. Yeah, and obviously the link will be below attached to this video here, guys. So please do that. Get that first initial consult. I have to tell you, it was a breath of fresh air to not feel like I was being sold anything on the first call. It was very, all the stuff that I recommend for my clientele, I've done myself. Okay, that's a critical thing about how I run my consulting practice and my business. I got to go through the process before I'm going to recommend it out. So it was amazing to follow the process, and I never felt like there's a tough sell or anything on that. There's no upfront fees. So there's no harm at this point. It's a soft pull on your credit, to get that initial credit score going. So there really is no risk. These guys, I really appreciate the amount of time your team invested in just kind of vetting me as a potential client. And then, there's no success story here yet, but I do have a very clear roadmap on exactly what needs to happen to get to that success story. And that's the other thing I really appreciate about your process is I wasn't left wanting, okay, now what, right? A very good clarity. Nicole broke it down in copious detail. Here's what has to happen next. Talk to this guy. I love that you partnered with some reputable credit repair companies. There's another industry that's got a lot of shady actors in that space. It's very hard to recommend that out, so I appreciate that you had that on your team as well. All the pieces are coming together right now, and I'm 100% confident that I'm going to end up with funding, but I do have clients who are already at that result today. Like they're on lines of credit. We're looking for deals. So it is working. This process, this thing that you're doing is changing lives, guys. I'm so appreciative that we encountered each other. We're able to meet, and I'm excited about working with you for the long-term future. From both of you, I just want to open it up. Any parting thoughts that we can kind of wrap it up with, let people know. We already talked about how to get in touch with you, but just any parting thoughts, Nick, that you'd like to add?
No, well, thank you for having us. Like Eric said, we're trying to spread the word here, and we do help, right? Capital, especially for newer investors, is typically the number one barrier to entry as a real estate investor. And,
yes,
people tend to be shocked when they realize, hey, I don't need financials or tax returns. I don't have a job, but I have great credit. You can go get me money. There's ways for us to get creative that if you're out there looking for opportunities, that you don't have to miss out on these opportunities anymore. So definitely reach out, touch base.
I love that.
We're happy to help any way that we can, because if we can't help, like you said, we're at least going to give you the roadmap to make sure that you know how you need to look so that we can help you.
I really appreciate that. Eric, anything else you'd like to add, sir?
I was going to say, let us perform. I mean, you talked about, why don't we charge an upfront fee? Let us go out there and perform, right? We'll put our money where our mouth is, or whatever they say there. I don't know. I'm not good with one-liners, but
Billy, I don't know.
Let us do our thing. Trust in us, and we're going to do that. We're going to do the right thing for you as a client, and both now and build that right foundation for the long term.
Well, you've definitely proven that, and there's no doubt about that, guys. I'm overjoyed that we met. I really appreciate getting to work with you guys. Obviously, you're a strong member of my team now, and that's what I'm doing for my clients, is bringing in the best of the best in every aspect of my 5-part process, which is finding deals, figuring them or analyzing them, funding them, which is where your piece comes in, fixing them to market and selling them at a profit for a minimum of $25,000 profit. You You guys are a critical part of the team now, and I really appreciate having you on board. I'm excited about doing a lot of business with you. And obviously the link is going to be attached to this video, guys. So when you're ready to get your first deal going, whether you have the capital available on your own or not, my recommendation is have a conversation with the guys at MB Capital, because just having that extra capital available to you in business lines of credit is going to give you a lot more confidence as you enter the market. This way, you know, whether it's your capital or their capital, you can act on the deals that are going to be coming to you when you join the program. So I'm excited to have this new member of the team on board, guys. I mean, welcome aboard, and thanks for all that you're doing. With that, we're going to wrap up the show for today, guys. I really thank you guys for tuning in to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. Greatly appreciate you having you on the show. Listen, the market is changing. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in the marketplace now. We joke tongue in cheek about the foreclosure market, but it's happening. Interest rates are higher. The market is shifting. Investors are entering the market at an astounding rate. And if you want to be one of those investors who's doing their first deal, I'd love to be your coach, introduce you to my friends here at MB Capital, and get you started with the lines of credit that you need. In conclusion, this is Donny Coram, your Foreclosure Deals Coach, thanking you yet again for tuning in the show and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal.